All right, welcome to podcast 75 of the Pickleball Krewe. Today we're going to talk about the mind game of pickleball, and Vicki's going to start us off.
That's right. Oh, goodness. When we talk about mental strength on the court and the ability to stay in and just stay so focused, we all know that it can be a real struggle for many. But we want to thank Nancy Hale, our good friend, for sending us a video. And this is a video of Andy Roddick, who is interviewing Brene Brown, who, if you're unfamiliar with her, she's an incredible speaker, incredible researcher, and she does a tremendous amount of speeches and different things, motivation type things with sports teams. And she just has done a tremendous amount of work researching. And they call this the sports psychology, leadership, and pickleball. So it was kind of an interesting conversation with Andy Roddick, who really he's playing a little pickleball, but he's really still more in love with tennis than he is with pickleball. And he questions that a whole lot. We're eventually going to put the link to the bottom for you guys because it is a worthwhile watch. But one of the biggest conversations that they end up having, just to start out with, is, are you the type of player who plays to win? Are you a player who plays not to lose? They talked a bit about the conversations that you may be having in those two different scenarios and the wording that you may choose. If you're the type of player who's playing to win, those words and thoughts and things that you're going to be using are very different than the player who is playing not to lose will use. And they talk about also how very often a win can even be determined before you even step on the court. So there's some really interesting things that they go through, and they talk about. There's a few wow moments that come in with some of these thoughts, and very, very interesting. So this was actually perfect timing, guys, because we were just having the conversation about somebody we know and love, and the mental toughness on the court, and also when you make a mistake, when this person makes a mistake, they beat themselves up unmercifully, and you feel like you have a big job now to not only keep yourself going, but you have a big job keeping the other person going as well. So there's something that really plays into that, and the mental toughness, what you're saying to yourself internally to help keep you going, but not only help keep you going, but help you think, I can do this, and I've got that winning attitude that just might help me get there. So, you guys feel free to say whatever, any part of this, whether it's what you say to yourself, what you say beforehand, before you even step out on the court, and what does it look like those things are that you should be saying to yourself that help you get out there and know that you can get a win.
Well, I know for me, one of the hardest things to do is put a bad shot behind me. Mm-hmm. And that is something that I really, really work on. And, and it's hard. It's hard not to beat up yourself when you make a bad shot, especially if it's at a critical point. So the thing I've been working on lately is just being able to shake off a bad point, or just shake off the last point, period, whether it's good or bad, and just concentrate on what's coming.
Right.
And I quit worrying so much about winning lately, especially in rec ball. I want to concentrate more on working on things I know I need to work on. So I don't put a premium on winning as much anymore.
Well, and we've talked about this before, Bud, about how you after each point, especially after a point that you didn't perform very well in, you have to have some sort of mental reset. You got to be like that cornerback in the NFL that just got burned for a touchdown, but then you're right back out there on defense again, you have to have a short memory.
Yep.
So whatever it is that can get you to uh, everybody's seen Leah Jansen with the tap 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 that she does. That is her reset. Okay, and she's got a mental coach that's teaching her that. Anna Bright goes back to the back wall, which a lot of players do. They'll go back to the back wall, touch the back wall, reset button, next point. There's a cliche, of hey, let's play it point by point, but that's what you have to do in pickleball. And a big part of it is not letting one error turn into two, two and a three, three and a four. Because next thing
Absolutely.
you know, you're losing that match 11-9, 11-7, or whatever the case may be.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pickleball Krewe. We are a group of pickleball fanatics based in Southeast Louisiana and are passionate about all things pickleball everywhere. Our focus is to inform, acknowledge those who help build the game regionally, and promote tournaments in our area. We do our best to present this with a love of the sport, a sense of humor, and a lot of fun. So join Vicki Wynn, Ken Wynn, Jeff Fuchsia, and me, Bud Klein, in our latest episode. We are glad you are along for the ride.
Well, we talked about this, and the pros do it, is they clock paddles after every point, good or bad. And that's kind of, in my mind, that's kind of their reset, like, okay, forget about it, let's move on.
Right.
Whether you did a silly error that somebody at our level can make, or they made the best shot in the world, they clock paddles, and it's kind of like, okay, we start the next point right here. And we talked about doing that at our level, because you don't really see a lot of that at the rec level, that clock a paddle after every point. And that's almost should be that reset.
Yeah. I mean, and that's that team spirit that we talked about that you experience so much in an MLP. And here it is, you have a chance on the court for you and your partner to do that with each other. Hey, we're a team, we're in this together. And I think it's very important that you do that. And especially with certain people. I mean, there's some people you don't have to worry about as much as others, but it really is a good practice because it actually keeps things, again, to the positive rather than the negative. And so, a few tips that I've heard is you're not playing another person, you're playing the ball. Let it go. Whatever happened, just let it go. One mistake doesn't mean you're going to have two mistakes or three mistakes. You can't have those negative thoughts in the back of your mind as you're moving on to another point. So it is those resets. It is that clack of the paddle. All those things that can help keep it on the positive side rather than the negative side.
Well, let me ask a question of all three of you, and then I'll tell you what my thoughts are. When you go into any match, do you think that I can do this, I can win? Or do you look at the opponent and go, I should win this one? Or they're really a lot better than me. I'll be lucky to get 5 or 6 points. So do you have that I can do it for every match? Or do you look at your opponent and kind of make some determination based on who your opponent is?
It's such a great question.
Well,
I think I have to be honest. If I'm going up against somebody that I know is quantitatively and exponentially better than I am, I don't walk on the court with the best frame of mind that I should. I mean, in all honesty. But I will say that I have surprised myself at times by walking on the court and it coming out a lot different than I thought it would on the positive side. So there's something to be said for, keeping a positive attitude for sure.
I think a lot of people do that, Ken, and I think it's detrimental, in my opinion, to their game.
That's determining a match in a way, right?
It is. I go
That's
on
like,
the court.
These guys are 4-5s. If I get 3 or 4 points, I'm going to call that a victory rather than, hey, I'm going to stay positive every point. And I it's pickleball. I can win who knows? Everything, anything can happen.
Well, the thing with me is I want to go into it with the feeling that I can win the game and just try to figure out how we can best perform in that game. You might have the weakest player on the court beside you. Okay. And when I'm in those situations, I'm trying to figure out how we can win that game. And then sometimes it's just a matter of, as the game goes on, I'll predetermine sometimes in my mind, hey, if we can score 7 points on these guys, I'm gonna determine that as a win in my mind. And now I'm taking a negative situation where people get so hung up on did they win the game or not, and I might have lost the game in everybody else's mind, but in my mind it was a positive. Because you see it. You see players that end up with the weakest player, and you look over there at them, and they're defeated before the first serve has been hit. Mm-hmm. And I just think that's a bad precedent to set. I think you should try, have a good positive attitude there. And as per to that article you were talking about, Vicki, I think it becomes a mindset. What if the guys at the Alamo would have had this mindset?
Good point.
Texas might be part of Mexico right now.
Funny thing is that it brought into my mind after listening to it was that there's so many different scenarios that you could be in as well. And when you look at the pros and you look at the top, I don't know, I guess the top 20 pros, right? Here's top 20 men. Here's a top 20 ladies. They're continually playing each other. They can look at film. They can study each other's games. They may study each other's weaknesses and different things. For us at our level, and if you're moving around and you're playing at a lot of tournaments, there are those times and those moments when you get on the court and you're playing two people you've never seen before. And you're like, I have no idea what I'm in for. So it's hard to prejudge in those cases. And at those times, you just have to tell yourself, I'm going to get out there and do it. What do I have to lose? I've got to give everything I've got, leave everything on the court. I don't know these people, so there's no way for me to determine ahead of time whether or not, I just know I'm going to win, or I know it's going to be an epic fail. These people are so good. I think in some cases it can be intimidating, but you have to actually figure out how mentally to get yourself out of that and say, I don't know these people at all, but I'm going to get out and just do the best I can. But that popped into my head because I thought that was really interesting. And so, when you're at rec play in the evenings and you're playing with the same 10, 15 people all the time, same thing again, you get used to each other's games and you know each other's weaknesses, when they're going to pull the trigger and speed the ball up. You might know different things about each other, but it's just such an interesting game because so much of it is mental, how to get yourself through some scenarios like that.
Well, I'll admit that, I kind of think of myself as a glass half full kind of a person. And so I go into a match very positive, very optimistic, but there have been times that you're down 10-3 and you feel like you've changed your philosophy during the course of the match and nothing is just working. And I know that I've gotten down, but then all of a sudden, and it has nothing to do with the shots. You're hitting the same shots in this point that you did the last 7 or 8 points, but all of a sudden a couple things fall your way and it's 10-4, it's 10-5, then, or even then 10-6. All of a sudden, then I get reignited, not because I created that, kind of like the flow changed, but it pulled me then back into the match and like, okay, hey, maybe we do have a chance, and I'm kind of back fired up again. But there are times that I do get down when I don't feel like anything, things that we're trying are not working.
I think you have to keep yourself up no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
And if you train yourself to do that, it projects a certain image to the people you are playing. And
I
this
agree.
this is just me. I never want to show the other side that they're getting to me, because that's just fuel on their fire. You let somebody see that you're bleeding a little bit, and boy, they're really going to be out for blood. And the other point I wanted to make is, I think a lot of times people are too results oriented instead of falling in line with the process. Okay. I can go out tomorrow and play 10 rec games and win all 10 of them. What does that mean? Doesn't really mean that much. Or I could go out there and lose 5 and win 5. But at the end of the day, if you go into it with the right mindset and play through the process and play hard, no matter what the score is, and try to continue doing that, then you're building something for the future and a mindset that can propel you, Ken, to come back and win some of those games. It's not always going to be clean pickleball for you.
Right. Matter of fact, it's rarely going to be clean pickleball.
For sure.
And we, as much as when we turn on our TV, Pickleball Channel comes on by default, and we're like trying to get to the evening news, but it's like, we know that's being recorded, so we want to see the end of that game. And I don't know how many times we've seen a team down 7-2 and win, 11-8. And what was the difference? Did they start playing? They probably didn't play much better, but they continue to believe. It's got to be the reason.
Yeah, it's hanging in there.
Yeah, that I'm gonna tell you, watching a lot of pro pickleball is what helped me, because before I started watching a whole lot of it, I'd lose one match at ret play, you lose 11-2. But then I started watching a lot of pro pickleball, and they're playing these 3-game matches, and the first team can win 11-0, 11-2, and then you make some adjustments, come out and try to enact a different game plan or play better, and then that team ends up winning, and next thing you know, they're in a third game and it's a dogfight going back and forth. I think as players, we wear it on our sleeve too much. I don't know if it's a pride thing or what it is, where you lose a match, 11-3, and you're like, oh my gosh, the world, the sky's just falling down all around me.
Right.
It's just not that big a deal.
Right.
If you get stuck in, get lost in the process.
That's
the best way I can describe it. And look at yourself over a long period of time instead of just measuring, this one particular rec game.
Right. Yes, one game does not make, that's for sure. It does not. I mean, and everybody has good days and bad days, and it's very hard to be 100%, every day, get out there and killer, just be killer and just go. Some people have that ability, and that's the whole thing. Can remember the part of when Andy Roddick was telling the story about how he asked the other pro tennis player, can you expand on that? Why? How do you do it? What is it that keeps you going and keeps you winning? And
yeah, Andy Roddick said, when he thinks about the greatest, not the greatest of all time, but the greatest of the different sports, he thinks about the Michael Jordan and the LeBron James, and he mentioned a couple others. He felt like these people were like fiery strong, that winning was everything to them. And he said Michael Jordan even broke a teammate's nose in practice because he's that competitive, and that's really what separated him from his peers to make him one of the greatest. He said, but with Roger Federer, he didn't see that fire. He didn't see that level of fire in Roger Federer. So it was, Roger, what you are considered one of the greatest. What really makes you, in your mind, one of the greatest? And he says, it's simply because I enjoy winning more than I hate losing.
It's a big
Yeah.
deal. Big deal
Well,
right there.
again, to piggyback on that a little bit, and I think this is what gives me comfort on the court because of that. I'm going to prepare through drilling,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and that gives me. I'm gonna do everything I can do. Let's say I had a tournament next weekend, okay. I'm gonna drill as many days as I can. Some people can't drill that much. Some people can. Some people just choose not to. But when I walk into that tournament, I know that I put that hay in the barn, and I have that confidence that I've, at least up until that point, I've done everything that I can do heading into that tournament. And that gives me confidence. A lot of times, and I mean, I don't know this, but I'm on the court and I'll think, okay, I've put in the work. I don't know if all these other players have put in this work, but I put in the work. And everything comes back to drilling, doesn't it, Vicki?
It does.
But preparing yourself ahead of time also breeds confidence in a lot of people.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I mean, again, you go back to some of these players Ken was talking about, and if you ask them about drilling and what their drilling schedules were like, I'm sure they were very heavy into it. You know, Michael Jordan just staying in the same place for an hour shooting from the same exact spot.
Yep.
You're going to
Yep.
get stories like that. And look at Drew Brees. He was another one. He'd stand there and throw the football through, a small hole and just nail one after the other for I don't know how long. But that is what it takes. It takes that dedication, takes the time. Now, for most of us, you're right. There's a lot of people who don't want to do it, and they're out there just for the enjoyment. There's nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. You don't have to do it. But if you want your game to progress and you are a competitive person by nature, you want to be getting in tournaments, um, it can absolutely help you. It can help you get to being more consistent, having the muscle memory it takes to do it and do it consistently. And the other thing it can do is help you, move to that next level you may be, struggling to get to. So yes, I'm a big believer in my drills. You know that.
Well, there's no doubt that physical preparation leads to confidence, and confidence can do nothing but help your mental game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
if you've got,
the two walk. You're right, bud. The two walk hand in hand for sure.
yeah, I mean, they're both equally important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the thing is, if you can't drill, it's no big deal. But then don't turn around and beat yourself up because you're not, you're struggling with your confidence on the court. I mean, just go out there and just try to have fun with it as best you can.
Absolutely. I mean, and the big thing too is I tell a lot of our newer students and everything too is that it takes time. Even if you are getting out and you're playing one day a week, you get to drill a little bit another day of the week or 2 days a week isn't, you're not going to be in 1 month now all of a sudden jumping from beginner player to 3-5 in a tournament. It's just rare that would happen. If you're an ex athlete that played a paddle sport, that's possible. But it takes time. It takes time to learn the game. It takes time to be on the court and visually see the court and, be able to then play smart and place the ball really well. There's a lot to be learned. And again, I go back to the mental strength of, wanting to win and everything else is one thing, but there's that whole other mental strength portion of the game that helps you become a better player by seeing the court better, reading different things that are going on, watching the ball, watching your opponent's stance. I mean, it just can go on and on and on. It's a very mental sport. It truly is. And so if you're working on all those basics and the muscle memory and all this, then all the other things come along the way. I think, Ken, you could probably agree that, because we were just talking about this the other day, at how when we first started out, there were no coaches or anything else. You learn from the other guys on the court more about what to do, where to stand, whatever. There was no television channel with pickleball on it, and there really were no YouTube videos with instruction at that time either.
No.
So we really have come a long way to help beginner players, move along and move faster. But I still think that taking your time with that mental part of the game and having just what Bud said, absolutely 100% true. The confidence comes along with that.
I had a friend that I play with during the week, and he's about my age, a little bit younger. And he the other day we were playing, and he came off the court, and he said, "I am so sick and tired of losing." And I said, "Well, why do you think you're losing?" He said, "Well, I just don't seem to be getting any better." And I told him, I said, "If you want to get better, you better find some people to drill with, because if you think you're going to get better playing out here 2 or 3 times a week, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen." So if you really want to commit yourself to getting better, you've got to be willing to put in the work to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So Bud, me and Ken were talking earlier today. He was talking about somebody that had watched you in a tournament or something, I think a couple weeks ago, and they made a comment like, "Bud, man, what are you doing? Boy, your game is really coming along." You're a good example of.
Absolutely.
How many years you been drilling now?
2 years.
Okay, 2 years. And I've been a big part of watching that, and I think you've slowly gotten better, but you hit a new stride within the last 2 to 3 months, I would say.
Yep, I have.
Okay,
I feel it.
and that's with a yeah, and I mean that took 2 years to get there, and I mean I'm excited about it because I know how old you are. Okay. And I've said before that I'd never been on a pickleball journey before, but I didn't know how much you could keep getting better. But I mean, that speaks volumes of you can get better, and it doesn't matter what age you are.
Absolutely.
You just got to dig in there and figure out these things, and it ties into what we're talking about today. These things that'll give you confidence on the court.
Yep.
Well, and there are people out there that, and I'm not saying this won't help, but if you rely on just playing better people to get better, you're not going to get better, because you're still basically playing your game against better
There you
people.
go. Absolutely.
You need to learn how to make better shot selections. You need to learn, work on your muscle memory so that you're more consistent in your shots. And those are the things that are going to improve your game more than just trying to get into a rec play game against people that are a lot better than you are.
And Ken, I'm a good example of that. Wasn't that long ago, I believed that. I believe if I could go out and play, the Jeff Fuchsias and the Jody Scharfensteins, that was just going to make me better. And it doesn't. It will a little bit, but nothing like, muscle memory and drilling and preparing yourself. There's just nothing that I haven't found anything yet that equals that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you're what you're talking about here too brings right back to our topic of mental attitude. And here he is walking off the court saying how tired he is of losing. And that can get discouraging. That can be really, really discouraging when you can't ever walk off the court and have a win. And we've all had days like that when we've gone home and just said, I didn't even get one win today. But the real, question comes in is like, swallow your pride You just gave him some advice. Then go back to Bud and ask Bud, Bud, tell me again about this. What do I need to do to make this happen? Because I believe you and I'm ready. I'm ready to do something about it. I don't want to just keep coming out doing the same thing and it just continue not working for me. And I mean, you know, again, you guys, we've seen a lot of players that have progressed so beautifully, but we've also seen people who do not want to change their game. They don't really want to take that extra step to ask somebody for help, or they think you're not the right person to help them. So I'll just go find somebody else to help me. And yet their games don't change. And, you know, there is something to be said about the mental part of it is breaking down your own game, breaking down your own mental issues, and just telling yourself, I'm going to figure out how to get past this.
Yep.
It's not an easy thing to do, and it's going to take time, but you will come out of it a better player in the long run if you do.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And again, I think many of us have been there.
Well, I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways of this mental game is during the entire course of the match is you got to believe. You know, the second during the course of a match you stop believing that you have a chance, it's gonna take almost just you know, fate of shots happening for themselves, because you're no longer propelling that belief. It's just happening. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes, you know, shots just work and your head wasn't even in the game, but the shots just work. But really the key, I think, is to continue to believe, because the second you stop believing, I think the odds become stacked against you.
Well, and you can't fake that, Ken. You got to train yourself to believe no matter what, but be willing to know that you may not, you know, the results may not turn out in that tournament game like you thought they would or hoped they would. You know, just have that belief. Just like the guys in the Alamo, they thought, hey, we're going to hold out. We're going to win this battle. Well, we all know how that turned out, but their spirit was what propelled, you know, the folks behind them to gain Texas's independence. And to me, that's kind of what it's about in a nutshell. It's your spirit. You know, I want to be remembered as a player that gave 100%, you know, all the time, because there's talent out there. There's talented players out there, and you may not, you know, there's different talent levels, but the ability to try hard and hustle and get after it and try to get the win, that's in every one of us. It's just a matter of how much you want to bring that out and how you want to project that, you know. And me personally, that's what I want to be. That's the type player I want to be remembered as.
Well, it's the old adage, huh? It's not the dog in the fight, it's the fight in the dog, huh?
Yep.
Right. I mean, and two things come to my mind too, is that we say all the time, hey, it's pickleball, anything can happen. I think I tell Ken that all the time. It's pickleball, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But I would much rather, the second thing that pops into my head is I would much rather give it my all. And even if I'm fighting to come back from, you know, a deficit, and I'm fighting hard and we're having great points, I would much rather go home having lost, even if I didn't win, having lost, knowing that we had amazing match, amazing points. We did everything we could. And if I lost 11-9, 11-8, I'm thrilled. I just think that, you know, it's about the experience of it too. But it never feels good to me if I go home and know I lost because I didn't give it my best. I just wasn't into it.
Mm-hmm.
That does not feel good. I can't imagine it feels good to anybody. So kind of like, why not? Why not? You're on the court and you're on the court for that long. Give it everything you got.
And now it's time for Jeff and his Burr Under My Saddle.
You're a burr under my saddle. You're a thorn sticking in my side.
All right. right, I got a good one for this week. I hadn't had one in a while. I guess people have been acting right for the most part. But okay, this week's Burr Under My Saddle. Could be playing rec play with somebody that I know. Sometimes this happens. Sometimes it's people that I don't know. Me or them, we make a really good play. I turn to them, I'm ready to do a paddle tap, and they are nowhere in the building. They're gone. They're looking the other way. We just did something fun, something good. And I'm trying to get a little team chemistry going here, and they're not even looking at me. People, what are we doing? What are we doing? Isn't it okay to get a little excited at rec play and do a little paddle tap? And then, hey, God forbid, let's take it to another level and do a paddle tap after we make a bad play, just to let each other know that everything's good. That's probably not important to everybody. I think it is to a lot of people out there. But I know for me in tournament play, that's ultra important for me with the people that I play tournaments with. And I have some really amazing partners that are very supportive and through the good and the bad. And it just, I don't know, it just helps me stay in the game mentally and together with them. So come on, people. Don't leave. What do the kids say? Hey man, you left me hanging. Don't leave me out there on the don't leave me hanging out there on the court. But if I'm looking for a paddle tap, give me a little paddle tap. All right, bud. That's this week's Burr Under My Saddle.
Hey, bud, I've got a shout out. All righty. I'm going to do a shout out once again to Nancy Hale. Thank you so much for sending us the link to the YouTube video. It was amazing and so much in there for you to just think on and try to pull into your own game and just power positive. And I'm truly believe in that. But it was very, very interesting, and I hope you guys enjoy the video as much as we did. And I'm not sure that I did this shout out before. I feel like I didn't. And so I want to go ahead and send it out again. And that's to Keith and Petra, who are just doing amazingly well with their referee adventures. Petra had been promoted or asked to do another job, which was more on the management side. And I think she's managing a lot of the referees now. Obviously she got asked to do this because she does such a great job on a daily basis. And we're just excited for her, and we're excited for Keith, or if you know him as Tony. He actually is now the first certified referee in the state of Louisiana, and we could not be more proud of him as well. So they have interesting teamwork going on there, and they're able to travel together sometimes and go to all these pro tournaments, and just some wonderful experiences. I know at least Petra's headed to North Carolina for the upcoming tournament. Don't know if Keith is or not, but guys, we just wanted to let you know how proud we are of you, and hope we get to see you really soon.
All right, Vicki, thanks for that shout out. And now, if nobody has anything else, I think it's time to say goodnight. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hey, from the Pickleball Crew, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Well, that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave any comments, and please like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again, and see you next week.